Hi, and welcome to the Reinvented Delaware podcast. I believe this is number 7.
What? Are you serious?
Yep, I believe this is number 7.
Are we keeping this all straight?
I think so.
Yeah.
So time will tell.
Well, you would think after 40 years of marriage, we could keep what episode number we are, but we actually had to create a Google Calendar to share with one another. I feel so high tech.
That is, I do feel very technology challenged.
Yeah.
So
same here. What's going on with you?
Not a whole lot.
What have you been up to?
Well, at this point, I'm preparing to go back to school, so I'm getting my mental facilities in order to. So you kind of have to prepare a little bit. But
I like how you say that. It's mental facilities.
Well, it's different being up all day and kind of doing what you want to do than being in school.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You have a summer break. Like a student.
Then in school, you have to be at a certain place at a certain time. So, so it's more regulated.
Are you ready? Are you ready to go back?
I will be by the time it gets here.
Okay.
So
okay.
I'm getting myself into that phase of getting ready.
Okay, good.
So
good.
Today we're going to talk about thrift like a picker.
Oh.
And I guess before we get started on that, what have you been working on?
What have I been working on? Well, I had to power wash our back patio. Did you see how bad it looked?
I saw it when you got done, and I saw how different it looked. So,
it was bad. I think we might have skipped it. So we power wash our house every year. Sometimes twice.
Normally do it in the spring.
Yeah, I think last spring we missed it or something.
I haven't done it this past spring yet.
Yeah, we haven't done it the current one.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to do it before fall anyway.
Yeah, and I went ahead and did the cement patio in our backyard, and it was bad. It was so green. I feel like it was more green than usual.
What do you think people did before pressure washers?
I don't know, but a power washer, a pressure washer, man, I can't live without it. I could go through the whole house and just power wash the interior of the house. I'm not going to do that. But it sure sounds like a dream way to clean.
I don't think our wood floors would agree.
Okay.
So
we'll skip that, and today we're just going to talk about thrifting like a picker. I love the title you picked. So, no pun intended.
We are actually going to discuss just a little bit of. I originally entitled this "Failures," and then it's really not a failure. So but one of the first things I had is, can you think of something at an auction or a thrift store or one time when we were out that you did not purchase that you wish you said, "Oh, I wish I did."
Well, there's been more than one, but more recently, I was out thrifting and I saw this shorthand book. In fact, somebody just commented on that video and said that they were a 72-year-old woman that learned how to do shorthand in college, which is crazy. I learned shorthand in high school, and one of my sisters was very proficient in shorthand. So I found a shorthand book for my sister several years ago when I gave it to her. She loves it. I thought I'd never come across another one. And then lo and behold, a few weeks ago, I found this shorthand book and I thought, I ought to get this. And
I think I'm the one that found it and pointed it out. I think it's actually, in a video.
Okay, he's the one that found it. And he's like, Cindy, you would love this. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get it. And I regret it so much.
Yeah, I think it was a textbook, like an old textbook. Because when I was in high school, I took typing because that's where girls were. But it didn't stick. But
Really?
It was typing and shorthand. So it's kind
I'm
of
learning
like
something
working
here.
in an office.
Hold it. You didn't want to learn how to type. You just wanted to see the girls?
Yeah, typing and shorthand was not my primary objective.
Really?
But, yes.
Okay.
So my typing skills are now self-taught because I did not, the teacher made a valiant effort. I just did not pick it up.
All right, so I'll let you slide there. So shorthand is a short form of writing in cursive. It's like symbols that are several words together. So there are some common words that you would use in business correspondence, and they came up with this way of writing it. And you could just write very quickly with this shorthand. And there were textbooks for it. And I came across one at this thrift store, and I really should have gotten it. And we were just back recently because there was also the other thing that I regretted not getting that day was this really cool chair. It was $15. I loved it. I went home and had a dream about it. Really.
Wow.
I know. So That means I should have gotten that chair then. And I woke up the next day and I called. In fact, it's called Thrifty Creations in Laurel, Delaware. And I called the owner, Chris, and I'm like, Chris, hang on to that chair. I am coming back. So I finally just picked it up the other day. Remember, we stopped in there. I got this chair. I can't wait to make it over. So stay tuned. That's going to be a project here. But that kind of leads into, like, when you see the thing, you ought to just pick it up. You ought to just get it, right?
I mean, I do think you need to give it some discretion. So you had the shorthand instructional book, and for mine it was a very large scale. I want to say it was like a remote control, like 1966 Batmobile.
Oh.
And
are you seeing a theme with the whole Batman thing?
Yeah,
he loves Batman.
I'm a huge Batman fan. So I was 3 when the TV series came out, and like 7 when it went off. So I am I still collect some of the old Batman.
Yeah.
Stuff. But I saw this thing and it was in really good shape. And I should have bought it, and I thought, where am I going to put it? It's not something that really goes with our decor. And so I left it. But I've never seen another one, and I still remember, and it was only like $25. I've never seen one, but it was huge. Now I have grandsons.
Huge, like how big? Tell me. I don't think I saw
probably 18 inches, so maybe that big, and probably 6-8 inches wide. It was bigger than what I'm used to. It wasn't a Matchbox or a small
I'm
scale.
Not picturing that on the fireplace mantle.
Yeah, I could. So I could picture it on the fireplace mantle.
Ladies, let me know, does your husband have like some kind of an affinity towards something like that, like a Batmobile? Let me know down in the comments if so, and what that thing is.
I think that's why they invented man caves.
Okay.
But back to your topic on shorthand, if you're younger than probably 40, you might not know what shorthand is because you grew up in the age of computers and voice to text and technology. But back in the day, if you were a secretary, that was a very highly sought after skill because the boss would call the secretary and dictate a letter. And, you know, in some cases, especially like political figures, the letter had to be transcribed exactly verbatim as it was dictated. And even in contracts and things like that, you know, a word can make a big difference. So a highly proficient secretary was able to go in, and the shorthand, you were talking about symbols, it was just that's a lot of symbols, but I guess really the skill is in deciphering those symbols after the letter's dictated and actually putting it back verbatim. And I know probably the 80s, there were a lot of recording, like cassette recording, that you could transcribe. You could, the one I'm thinking of, because we used it in law enforcement, if you recorded an interview, it had a foot pedal, and you could start it and stop it. So you would type out.
Oh, like a court reporter. Didn't they do something?
A court reporter uses something similar to shorthand.
Okay.
Something like shorthand and Braille combined.
Oh, wow. I don't think I knew that.
But it's a special language that they have to learn in school. And again, the emphasis is on being verbatim because a fact that someone testifies to can be really, really important. But this thing had a foot pedal, so if you recorded a witness and you wanted to go back because you had to type it in the report, you could listen to the recording as much as you could store in your head, and then let off the foot pedal and it would stop, and you would type that, and then you'd push down on the foot pedal again. So when you got fairly good at it, it was a series of pauses, very short pauses, and you just till you got through your statement. But and again, then we got the voice to text, and now
that's what's crazy now. Is back in the day that a boss would dictate, like Steve just said, and she would write it down in the shorthand, and then she would go back later and transcribe it at the typewriter. Like that's not even hardly a word anymore at the typewriter. And now we just pick up our phones and tell Siri what we want to tell Siri, and she'll make a note for us. Like I use that all the time. Very interesting how all that's changed. Anyway, I should have gotten that shorthand book, and I didn't. So that's an epic.
You mentioned she, and so especially in today's day and time, it would seem very sexist to say that. But there was a time when most secretaries were male, and they had to have the same.
Female.
But a lot of them were male. You think of like.
Oh, really?
Yes. I don't think female secretaries caught on until early 19, maybe even World War II. But and more out of necessity, but a lot of secretaries were male.
So, interesting. Okay.
And I'm thinking of Abraham Lincoln's secretary.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yes.
I'm thinking his last name was Kennedy, and President Kennedy's secretary's last name was Lincoln. There's some historical.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
historical.
That's
I don't know
neat.
what you call that, but kind of a
Well,
weird fact.
Yeah, let's chat about
So-
what are some of the deciding factors about whether or not you're going to purchase something at a thrift store. Now, listen, we shop thrift stores, auctions, flea markets, yard sales, like all of the above and everything in between. So what are some of the deciding factors that you use on whether or not to get a certain piece?
I would have to say price. That's the primary factor is what it costs. And probably because of our business, I often think of resale value. So if I were to buy it and then decide to sell it, could I get my money back or even make money? So on some things, if I'm going to refurbish or restore or do something with it, I want to know that it's at a price point that I can make a profit. If it's personally
definitely.
for me, I kind of have to really think about whether or not I would use it. And hence the Batmobile. It was like, I really want this, but where would I put it? So I don't have a designated man cave. I have my workshop, but it would just get all dusty, dirty. I don't really have a display area out there.
Well, you have a smaller display area. In fact, we might be doing a makeover in a podcast room. We are currently in one of my workspaces. I have two. I have an outdoor workshop. I have this indoor workshop that also is my office and now podcast studio. We were thinking about converting one of our spare bedrooms to our podcast studio.
So,
People might be able to see all that back there because there's a lot. You have bookshelving. Well, you'll see it in the future.
So for a number of years when I was a police officer, I had an office and I collected police motorcycles. There is some Batman, some... We'll let you
We'll
see.
get to that. So the background might be changing in the coming weeks.
So how about
We'll
you?
see.
What is the deciding factor of whether you leave something at the store you
Well,
take it
price is a biggie for me because I am the queen of cheap. I do not like to spend a lot of money. I don't like to spend a lot of money on one particular item. I'm just not a spender. I really never have been. And even more so when the business came, like Steve just said, I had to always think about, the say that word for me.
Profitability.
For the item itself, and I wanted to make sure that we could make plenty of profit on it. So that was a big determining factor. For our own home, well, even just the other day, I was out thrifting. I seem to go thrifting a lot. And I saw this one particular ironstone plate. It was really small, very unusual, and it was at a thrift store. It was $12. But I was picking up other ironstone pieces that were only $2 each. So I even asked the clerk, hey, is this mistakenly priced because it's mixed in with all these $2 items? She said, no, that's the right price. Well, I put it back. I kind of regret putting it back. But at the same time, I have to really love the piece. And that means that I also really have to love the price tag. And if I don't really love the price tag, I'm going to pass it by for the most part. So definitely that. I would also say quality of a piece has a lot to do with it. There's been a lot of pieces that because we've sold them, we don't mind fixing them up. So they might not be the highest quality, but if it's an antique, it is a high quality, even if it's broken. I hope that makes sense. That I'm willing to have something that's broken if it's high quality because of its age. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, I think, if I use that in my grandparents' day, a piece of furniture was probably made with in most cases, a much higher degree of workmanship than today. And I don't mind repairing something like that if it's
same here.
doable. So a lot of times it's just maybe reattaching something with some glue or some fasteners. And then I know we've taken some tables and things apart, re-glued them just because the glue from that period of time is just dried up or it's no longer doing what it's supposed to be doing. So if you can repair something like that, I think it's worth it. But,
yeah, so that's something. And then I think another thing to consider is storage. Like storage is an issue, isn't it?
And again, back to my Batmobile. So while I would have liked to have had it as part of a collection, there was no place to put it. So you will see if we change into that room, it's still a small area.
It is.
And honestly, I would probably give it to my grandkids now. At the time, I didn't have grandkids, but I still kind of think back I wish I bought it.
Yeah. So there are some things to consider when you're out shopping and that kind of thing. So let's talk about a time that you thrifted something and you wound up disappointed, because that happens too, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so when we were discussing this, I was at an auction and I found a leg vise. And if you don't know what that is, it attaches to the leg of a workbench, and it allows you to hold a piece, and then you can use a plane on it. You can work on it, but it holds a longer piece of wood. Pretty common on old carpenters' workbenches, hard to find now. But I found one, and it was still in really, really good shape. It was the metal. Some of the wood needed to be replaced, which wouldn't have been a big deal. And I bought it for like $3. And I was going to put it on my workbench. So I could just envision all the work I was going to do with this leg vise. But I did want one because they are, while you don't use them a lot, they're practical and they're handy to have. And I got it home, and I started to clean it up and lubricate it to get it working again, and the housing was cracked.
Oh,
so
that stinks.
Yeah, so it wouldn't, by the time you tried to hold something tight, the crack would cause the device to give up the pressure, and it would just let loose. So I took it to a friend of mine that welds, and because it's cast iron, there's a special process to weld cast iron.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't think, one, that it would hold, and two, if it did hold, he didn't think the vise would ever work properly. He was just getting everything lined up. He didn't think he could do it. So it ended up in the trash pile.
That happens. I'm remembering a piece of furniture that I can't even say I bought it because it was free. So maybe I'm not too awfully disappointed. I'll tell you why. But I came across a free china cabinet that otherwise would have just really been amazing, but it was mid-century, and that's just not my look, is it? Like we are just not mid-century people. We like more of the 1800s, late 1800s, early 1900s, middle of the 1900s, not so much. And this china cabinet was a mid-century piece. I painted it. It sold right away. So, and it was free. So it was almost complete profit. I had very little supplies in it except for the paint. And I think that was leftover paint from another project. And the fact that it sold, all that added up to be a great success. And yet I didn't like doing it because it wasn't my style. I guess I'm going to chalk that up as a bit of a disappointment, mostly because I did enjoy working on it, but not as much as I've enjoyed the antiques that we love, that we've collected over the years. That's where my heart really is, not in mid-century. Now, maybe you love mid-century, and that's wonderful. We all have different tastes. I'm just saying that wasn't a piece that I was super thrilled. I like to use the phrase that I've really got to do backflips over something in order to enjoy working on it. That one, not so much. I didn't really do backflips.
I know that through some of the stores, there are a number of people that actually do the mid-century modern. And we've had a few pieces that actually we've done well with or well on. But I'm like you. It's not the look. Not the look that I would typically decorate. Not that I decorate, but it's not the...
Well,
not the look that I'm used to seeing, I guess, when I come in the house. So,
yeah.
How about something that you repurposed that you thought would really sell, or something even that you built, and then it ended up like sitting on the floor for a long time?
Oh, I know two things. This is the craziest story, and this is an interesting business if you're doing this as a business. You really never know what's going to sell and what isn't. And at the time, this was 3 or 4 years ago, we were in 2 different locations. They were about 20 minutes away from each other in 2 different towns. Just so happened that I came across 2 almost identical 1930s hutches. So it was a tabletop with really long legs. I'll try to put a picture here on the YouTube channel, and I'll also include a blog post link so you can see one of those hutches. The other one I did not get a picture of, but they were 2 almost identical hutches that we came across in 2 separate weekends. But we shopped at an auction one weekend, went back and got another one at another auction the very next weekend. They were practically identical. One was painted, one was not. They both had to be redone. So the one that I'm going to share with you down below in the description is the one that was painted. I had to strip the paint and all that. It was a lot of work, but it was beautiful. It was a 1930s hutch with wavy glass and a door on it and shelving that you could store all sorts of dishes or pantry items. Like back in the day when we didn't have pantries and built-in cabinets, they would have pieces of furniture like this. So I redid both of these pieces. I put one in one store and I put one in the other. And the one that I put in the store that was the farthest away sold like that in a week. That thing was gone. I could not hardly believe it. And I thought, oh, okay, great. This other one's going to sell too. And it sat there. 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 I brought it home, repainted the thing. And it was quite a task to get that thing up and down the stairs at Wilderlove.
Didn't you did some extra, there was something you did.
I did do something extra.
I'm trying to remember.
Oh, I know what it was. It had a drawer.
Design.
Oh, yeah, there was a floral design.
Or something?
Yes, I hand painted this beautiful leaf design on it. So actually, I made that over 3 times.
Yeah, I remember
the initial time, and then and it wasn't a stencil. I actually hand painted that, and then I made it over one other time, a total of 3 times. And after 2 years, it never sold and never sold and never sold. We decided to close up that one store where we were. And when I was having everything on sale just to get rid of it, one of the other vendors said, hey, I could use that for paint storage. Can I buy that? I practically gave it to her.
I think you did.
Like, get rid of the thing, get it out of here. Fortunately, we only had about $30 in it because that's a big number for me for furniture. So we didn't lose a lot of money. But it was a lot of headache because we moved it around several times. Every time I made it over again, I had to bring it back home. So that was a fail in a way, or a piece that I wasn't thrilled about the outcome of it. And it's so strange because I had 2 of them, and the first one sold in a heartbeat. And then that one, 2 years later, I couldn't hardly give it away. Like, I can't figure that out.
It's
but
almost
that's just
like
how it is.
The demand just changed that quick.
It did. It really did. It really did. So... anyway, so I think that's it for today. What do you have going on this week? You got anything coming up?
Nope. Like I said, I'm preparing to go back to school, so winding up on some home maintenance, car maintenance type things.
Have you started moving into the shop yet? Your new shop yet?
No, I still have some things to do there.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a transition from, right now we have all of our outdoor equipment under a carport, so that will transition into the new workshop. And I need to heat the new workshop, so I need to. I have a wood stove that I'm going to install.
Okay.
It's just really difficult to cut a hole in like a new building.
In a new building, yeah.
But
you can do it. You're up for the challenge.
Yeah. The flip side is you can't let it burn inside. But so I got some minor things to do before I actually get moved in.
Okay. Well, good. Well, I'm starting to think about some fall ideas. Maybe I'm a little bit behind, but this is kind of how my mind works. And I'm trying to think of some fall ideas. I'm hoping the pumpkins are going to be ready soon. Well, we're probably a few weeks out for that.
Yeah, I think will be ready in October. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're still growing, but he planted some really cool ones. They're like those Cinderella decorative kind of pumpkins. So I'm hoping that they turn out good this year.
They right now are looking good. So that can change with Delaware weather and bugs and things like that, but hopefully they'll produce and we'll have some really cool pumpkins to show.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So with that being said, we're going to wind it up, and so we don't bore you, but again, would just like to take this time to thank those of you that are leaving comments. Those comments really mean a lot. We do read them.
I read every single one. I know you do.
Yeah. And
I answer every single one.
Now, I don't answer. Usually I hit the like button, but we do read them. We go through every comment and we will read them. And they really inspire us and they mean a lot. I know several people have commented on just this simple podcast video, how it touches their lives and it brings back a memory or resonates. They find enjoyment in whatever way. So we really appreciate your comments. They really inspire us to do that. We would ask you, if you really want to help us out, to subscribe and like this channel. And also on podcasts, give us a 5-star review. So even if you're listening and you say, wow, that's the dumbest podcast I ever heard, only takes a second. Just give us a 5-star review, and then you don't ever have to tune in again.
Yeah, I think, what do? You just
hit that 5th star. All the 5th star on the right, just click it, and then tune out.
Send.
And you don't ever have to tune in again, but it does help us out.
It really does help our analytics, because all the podcast players, they don't even know that you're listening until you give like a review. So a review doesn't even have to be anything typed out. Although, if you want to type out, hey, Steve and Cindy, you're doing a great job, you go right ahead and do that, and the 5 stars. it really does help us to continue this conversation. We still have lots more to talk about in the future, don't we?
We've got a lot more. If you're old like us, you remember that TV shows used to get the ratings. And,
Oh, yes.
And analytics is, for those of you that aren't sure, they're kind of like ratings because Google doesn't have time to watch all this stuff, nor does YouTube. So they go by the analytics. So by you liking, subscribing, giving us a 5-star review, that just really helps, and it shows them that, hey, we're going to put this out there for more people to see.
Yep,
So,
you can reach out and contact us by going down below and click on the link. My email is cindy@reinventeddelaware.com. Shoot me an email. Ask the questions. Tell us the topics that you want us to talk about. Tell us what you're interested in so we can continue to bring these episodes to you. We want to keep this going for a long time.
Yep, I enjoy it.
I do too. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep, it's been a lot of fun. And again, if you have something specific to me, same email, cindy@reinventeddelaware.com, and she will
I'll send it to him.
Yep, she'll pass that on to me. We'll get you an answer.
Yeah.
All right, have a great week, guys.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.